One of the things I write about in Lockout is the way that the least scrupulous employers use immigration laws as a way to facilitate breaking labor laws. Because of a loophole in the 1986 immigration laws that we're working under right now that says that if employers cooperate with the government in immigration enforcement, then they basically get off the hook. Poll after poll after poll ad nauseum shows that a solid majority of American voters want practical solutions that work, that they don't want to go deporting 12 million people, that they want to see a fair solution that brings people out of the shadows and that creates a system that actually allows people to do to come the right way, that allows employers to get the visas that they need for permanent workers to work legally, for people who want to come through the front door to be able to do so instead of going through the Gordian knot that our immigration system is today. We've got two people who are very much experts in the political side of things. Rick Johnson from Lake Research Partners is a polling firm, so he can really go through the details of this. And Simon Rosenberg, who's the president and founder of NDN, which is a progressive policy advocacy organization that does a lot of work on immigration.
We are probably in the midst of the greatest demographic change in the history of the United States, that we're changing more today as a people than we have probably ever changed in any part of our history. Obviously, the great, huge change in demography in the United States in recent times has been the rise of Latinos, who, by the way, were not even in the census in 1980, right? It's just kind of an amazing thing to think about, that they were not a separate classification in the census until 1990, I think. Is that Latinos will be a quarter of the population, 15% today, over time, and that we know obviously that Latinos are heavily concentrated among the border states, but the two fastest growing Latino Hispanic states in America today are Georgia and North Carolina. So this is becoming a ubiquitous phenomenon. This is a very fast growing part of the American electorate. If these statistics bear out, we're going to see a doubling of the Hispanic electorate from 2000 to 2008. I think that's what will happen, is my own view. Based on the work of some of the people in this room, and also that what we've seen is that the immigrant share of the electorate has grown. There's no voting bloc in American politics that is swinging as much as the Hispanic vote. And what happened was, the reason it started swinging was there was both a new part of the vote, this immigrant vote, which was knows more about who Hugo Chavez is than Cesar Chavez, right? Who did not grow up in the United States and is not acculturated to our narrative and our story, right? But also because the Republicans changed their strategy. They adopted a much more, I would argue, racially enlightened and modern strategy, recognizing that there was no way they could win as a modern party without appealing to Hispanics. And you saw, the result of that was, the way they executed that, which was brilliant, because these guys are strategists, right? We have to remember that, is that most of that conversation happened in Spanish. It was not something that was seen publicly. They did the Spanish language press events in the White House at 4 o'clock, right? They did a lot of advertising in Spanish in both 2000, 2002, 2004, because again, half of the Hispanic community speaks a great deal of Spanish. They had this strategy, which, by the way, they were able to basically hide from the rest of their party, right? Because it was happening sub rosa, underground, and the result was very dramatic, right? The Republicans doubled their market share, the fastest growing part of the American electorate in just 2 elections, really an incredible political and demographic achievement by any party. So, but what changed is obviously what happened, and I don't know if this ad is live, I apologize about that, but you can go to YouTube, or if you download this presentation, you can watch it, is what changed was Sensenbrenner, Tancredo, the fact that the Republicans adopted this anti-immigrant, I would argue racist strategy in 2006 as one of their 3 core strategies in the election. They ran ads comparing Mexican immigrants to Islamic terrorists. The GOP's strategy towards immigration in 2006 was one of the greatest strategic disasters that a political party has undertaken in recent years, right? It had tremendous opportunity costs. They invested huge amounts of money. As we'll hear in a minute, they got nothing out of it. And let's look at what all this means for 2008 and the Electoral College, right? This is the Electoral College over the last 4 elections. Democrats have won 15 states. The Democrats have won all 4 times, equaling 248 Electoral College votes. And there are 155 states that have gone, 155 electoral college votes that have gone back and forth. So you can see the Democrats are not far away. You need 270 to win the election. We came one state away, Ohio and Florida, in each of the last 2 elections. So let's play, can you see that, the blue? Let's play the permanent electoral majority game right here at this conference, is that we take the degraded brand, Republican brand in the Latino community, Democrats discovering the Southwest Latinos this time, and as I said earlier, really developing a serious program to speak to them. You flip these 4 states, right, which is now much more possible because of what's happened with immigration. You're up to 277, Democrats win. It's over, right? Just these 4 states. And what's important about this is that, you know, the argument I'm making to you is the Hispanic vote is basically going to determine who the next president is. These are new constituents. They're coming our way. The opportunity we have with this community is historic, right? And my hope by being here today and working with all of you is that we do the right thing, because I think comprehensive immigration reform is the right political thing to do for the Democrats, it's the right legislative thing to do to solve a vexing problem, and it's the right moral thing to do for the country as we face what is obviously an early and difficult challenge of the 21st century. Thanks, everybody, very much.
As I was introduced, my name is Rick Johnson. I'm a Vice President of Link Research Partners, which is a political polling firm. Sometimes people wonder, you know, what exactly does that mean? So we get a chance to talk to, you know, certain groups of individuals, whether they be voters, whether they be union members, and we'll talk to them about an issue either in a kind of a qualitative setting. So we'll get a chance to sit in a room with them and have a focus group, or maybe do one-on-one interviews. We'll also do polling among these folks to get a quantitative perspective on what they think about. When we actually had a chance to chat with folks about, okay, what, you know, this whole debate went on in Congress, and there was lots of shouting that went on. So enough with the shouting. What was this debate about? And frankly, people didn't really know. They were angry about something, and they wanted to let people know. When we asked them, you know, tell us a little more about the reform, they didn't really understand what the reform was about. When we said, well, was this amnesty? A number of people said, well, I think so. When we talked about the bill specifically, one of the big problems we're facing, and it's not just with immigration reform, but we see it in healthcare, we see it in almost any major social policy issue, is even the people who said, you know what, I agreed with this reform, I thought it was good, and they said, oh, I didn't support it, and we would ask them why. It's because they said, the government can't do this. They're not set up to do it. I mean, they can't handle the war, they can't handle Katrina, and now you're telling me you've got 12 million undocumented people, and they're supposed to figure out some sort of system to like get them in a system, and then they're going to really try to, you know, work on the borders and secure our borders and figure out who's coming here. They can't do it because this is the game they can't shoot straight. So when we talk about comprehensive immigration reform, and again, some folks have already talked about this a little bit already, that for the most part, people don't support the mass deportation. That again, this whole, actually it works for us in this way, the idea that the government has their act together enough to go and find 12 million people and deport them, people don't believe that it's possible. When you engage people on this, they'll say, okay, great, we can't, you know, I don't want to spend $205 million to deport you know, busboys and gardeners and people who are just trying to feed their families. But everybody agrees, whether you're on the left or the right, people want to replace an illegal flow with a legal flow. So it's a good starting place. Everyone agrees that the current system that we have is broken. So, I mean, the good news is that there's at least a starting point, because in some of our problems, people will kind of duck and hide and say, well, there's no problem. Everyone agrees there's a problem here. The real challenge is how do we best address it? And my last comment is, again, you know, we talk about, you know, how the nuances of this, but remember, at the end of the day, we are going to win this. We are going to have comprehensive reform that deals with the 12 million undocumented workers that are here in a humane manner. We just have to figure out how to get there. But please don't lose sight of that sometimes within this discussion, that yes, at the end of the day, this is going to happen, because, I mean, these people are willing to walk through deserts. They're willing to engage with coyotes or some of the most unscrupulous people you ever want to meet just to come here, to have a chance at living in this country, to give a better life for their kids. I mean, they define the American dream experience. And I mean, that kind of power itself is going to help win out. We just have to make sure that we get some people on our side, aside from the Latinos, who are going to help drive that fight. We need more Lions. Thank you.